Hey friends, Kevin here, and today we're up to the next step on what I do when I'm inspecting a used van to use for van life. Whether it's a minivan, cargo van, whatever it happens to be. This also applies to cars and trucks and anything else that you may need to pick up. Now, we covered a lot of things in those other videos, but this is where we get into what we're going to do when I actually leave the seller's home or the dealership lot with the vehicle. And I want to go to the first place that I can possibly go to, preferably within about a mile, so I can start doing the inspection that I want to do on this vehicle. And I'm going to walk you through this step by step right now. So we just don't want to get the vehicle too hot, because if we do, we're going to have to wait for it to cool back down, mainly because of the radiator. So what you're going to need, some paper towels to check things out of that bag we carry. You're going to need a towel. You're going to need some newspaper. We're going to spread the newspaper out under the vehicle. So while we're sitting here doing this, we're going to be able to use that newspaper and look and see if we have any drips coming from anywhere. If you see something dark colored, which is obviously engine oil, you see something reddish colored, it's going to be transmission fluid. If you've been running an air conditioner, you're going to have a little bit of moisture come off of it, but it's going to be basically clear condensation, clear water. So if you just see something clear, you don't have to worry about it, something clear that's dripped on your paper. But if you see other colors of stuff, now you're going to, need to investigate a little further. But let's get into exactly what we're going to do with this other stuff. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to be looking at the engine oil, which is why we want to use paper towels. And I don't care really what kind of shape the oil is in, because one of the first things I'm going to do if I buy it is change the oil anyway. But what I do want to look at is to make sure that this is oil colored, that it is black or it is brown or it is something that doesn't have greenish or reddish tints mixed in with it, or something that looks kind of milky, kind of frothy. Because if that's happening, what you have more than likely is you have a head gasket issue, and a head gasket issue is going to cost you $1,200 and up to remedy. And there will be a lot of people try to sneak these problems, unfortunately, on through. And there will be car dealerships that simply don't do good inspections on the used vehicles they're selling. And they will simply miss these kind of problems. And this is problems that can be very expensive for you. The other place we're going to check for this problem is going to be where the oil goes in. So if you remove the cap where the oil goes, we're going to use our paper towel and we're going to wipe it out the same way. And again, what you want to see is brownish black. You do not want to see green or red or frothy, milky, any other substance in there. So this vehicle passes this part of the test. And of course, I'm going to take a quick look. I'm going to look at the main drive belt just to see what kind of wear it has. But now we're up to the radiator, which is why you want the thick cloth towel. So we're going to turn this a little bit just to make sure we relieve any pressure. Make sure we don't have things too hot. And then we're going to go ahead and twist it around and take this the rest of the way off. I'm going to wipe this on the towel also, because what you don't want to see is oil mixed in with your radiator stuff. So preferably green, but some of these companies, they use a formula that's more of a reddish color. That's what you want to see when you look in there. The thing that we're trying to do is eliminate major problems. And back to those head gasket kind of issues where you have these fluids mixing together, another way you can tell that you may have this kind of problem is by starting this vehicle up now. And what you want to do once you start it up is you want to come back over here and you want to look at your radiator for about 30 seconds and make sure that you don't see bubbles coming up. Because if you have bubbles coming up in the system, that means you have an air leak somewhere. And again, that's a pretty good sign usually that you're going to have a head gasket type of issue. So let's go ahead and start this one up. No bubbles. So no bubbles coming up. And here's an example of what you don't want to see from another vehicle that I test drove. Here's an example of one that's going to be an absolute problem. See all those bubbles? Yeah. So now we know this part is okay. We'll go ahead, we'll put this radiator cap back on. That's basically it. Now we're going to pull our newspapers out, make sure we don't have leaks that were not disclosed to us. And the last thing, depending on what you want to do and how efficient you want to be with all this, is having that piece of plastic in your test bag. That way you have something that you can get on the ground if you do want to slide up, grab your flashlight, just look up, you know, make sure you don't see leaks, see any kind of problems, or if you are seeing a leak, that hopefully you can tell where it's coming from and decide then whether it's going to be a simple problem or not. But we're trying to head off more than anything else these major problems, these busted head issues or head gasket issues, and that's what we want. That's what we're after with this step, is eliminating the serious problems. So now that we've done that, we can move up to what's going to be on our next video, which is using the code reader. And I'm going to show you what I look for and the right way to do this. But again, this is what I want to get across to you. Even if you're not a mechanic, this that I just did here is very simple. Anyone can do. If you feel like you don't have that necessarily that ability or that confidence in it, you know, take a friend with you that can do some of this stuff just to make sure you check these things off before you buy any type of used vehicle. And if you've not done this before, I would suggest you go out and go through these videos I'm doing and just do this on a vehicle you already own. And if you do this and run through these steps once or twice, it'll make sense, and it'll make more sense of why I'm doing these things and the order that I'm doing them in. And you will see if you can do it with a vehicle that you already own, that you can just as easily do it with something that you're looking to purchase, to make sure that you don't get into a bad deal with something used. So next video is going to be the code reader. Video after that is going to be what I look for on a long test drive once it passes those steps, to make sure that we're buying a dependable vehicle.